Donald Trump is floating a new promise. A $2,000 tariff dividend check for every American, paid for, he says, by the money his tariffs are bringing in to the federal government. He rolled out the idea on True Social, where he rolls out all of his ideas, days after Republicans were completely obliterated in elections in Virginia, New Jersey, and other states, where voters cited the high cost of living as a top concern. Here's what he's actually proposing. Trump says tariffs on imports are generating so much cash that the government can afford to send a dividend of at least $2,000 a person, at least $2,000 to each American, excluding higher income households. But beyond that one post, there are almost no concrete details, no clear income cutoff, no answer on whether kids would qualify, and no explanation of how often ever, if ever, those payments would show up. Remember that $5,000 DOGE check that they promised you? Have you gotten that yet? Because the math here is where this all starts to fall apart. Tariffs did raise about $195 billion in the last budget year, more than double the roughly $77 billion collected the year before. But even after Trump's tariff hikes, that money is still less than 4% of the total federal revenue and barely touches a deficit that's around $1.8 trillion. Independent analysts point out that if you try to send $2,000 to every person in this country, including children, you're looking at roughly $600 billion a year. One budget analyst at Yale estimates Trump's tariffs might bring in $200 billion to $300 billion annually. That's a huge gap between what's coming in and what Trump is promising to send out, obviously, right? Anyone can do that math. Even Trump's own Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, sounded caught off guard. In a TV interview, he said he hadn't actually discussed the idea with the president and suggested the dividend might end up being some kind of tax cut, not literal checks in the mail. Other Trump advisors are talking about means testing the benefit for families, roughly $100,000 a year, which would still cost well over $100 billion. Then there's the legal problem. The tariff Trump wants to use as his cash medicine are already before the U.S. Supreme Court. Justices recently sounded skeptical that the White House can keep declaring national emergencies to slap tariffs on imports while sidestepping Congress, which the Constitution explicitly gives the power to levy taxes. If the court strikes those tariffs down, the administration may have to refund money to importers, not send dividends to voters. And remember, tariffs are paid for by U.S. importers who typically pass those costs on to consumers through higher prices. So Americans have already been paying more at the register because of these policies. And now Trump is trying to sell a one-time windfall that on paper doesn't even have enough real money behind it.